Welcome to Betting Weekly Extra Time, European edition. You're with myself, Dan Roebuck, alongside me, Steve Wyss and James Eastham. It is the final Clasico of the season. Huge game in La Liga. It is Barcelona versus Real Madrid, and we're going to be focused on that one very shortly indeed. But Steve and James, as I welcome you in, obviously Barcelona in midweek, involved in one of the best European games, one of the best European ties over the two legs ever, really, against Inter getting knocked out of the Champions League. What did you make of Barcelona's defeat at the hands of Inter, Stephen? Was it a profitable Champions League midweek session for you?
Good day to you, Dan and James. Do you know what? It was a profitable midweek slate for me. I was fortunate enough to do the live show with Will White on the Tuesday and Nigel on the Wednesday. Both were in great form. Managed to grab a couple of winners myself. And, what a tie. I know this might sound a bit recent bias, but I think it maybe is the best we've ever seen. In terms of goals and excitement.
I think over the two legs.
Yeah, over the two legs. Yeah, it was absolutely barnstormingly bonkers, wasn't it? For want of a better word. Never seen anything quite like it. The two teams just went at it against each other, goals galore, and there could have been even more goals, couldn't they? Inter might look back at that and think, "Hey, hold on, is our name on the trophy here?" But now, from a betting perspective, we've got to think, what is the come down for both teams heading into the weekend? And, in terms of Barcelona, they've got obviously a massive match, which we're going to talk about very soon.
Yeah, it's really interesting. That high line that Hansi Flick employs, James, didn't really get it in the first leg. Haven't seen a lot of Barcelona this season, but they're just open to concede goals, aren't they, really? What did you make of Barcelona's defeat midweek?
Yeah, completely. I thought the goal line going into the second leg was crazy, actually. You could get over 3 goals. It was a short price. I think it was minus 150, minus 160 in some places, something like that. But I thought that was a great bet, or push the goal line a bit and go over 3.25 goals, because I didn't see any reason why the game would play out differently to the way the first leg played out. Now, I didn't necessarily think it would be 3-3, but was there really any other way it was going to go? So I think there were great opportunities. It was an unbelievable tie to watch. And Steve makes a really good point there. You've got two teams now in Barcelona and Inter going into massive league games this weekend, but obviously with very different mindsets and maybe mood and morale in the camp after what has happened to them both in midweek.
Good midweek for those following Betting Weekly live shows. Of course, we've got an awful lot of content for you. Just a reminder of the boys' profit and loss, though, and Steve is more than inching, striding towards profit. We are very convinced that the last month of the show, less than, that we will get into profit with Steve. Obviously, the show surely will end in profit. There's no doubt about that. Steve's going to have a few big swings over the course of the last few weeks. That's for sure. A lot of content, of course, on our YouTube channel. You'll have seen the extra shows, basketball, baseball, a lot of live content for you on tennis, and, of course, soccer. Don't forget about our Instagram and our newsletter as well, bettingweeklystudios.com, popping into your inbox. But it is the big game of the weekend. It is in Spain. It is on Sunday. We're going to kick off with a Sunday game. It is the last Clasico of the season, Barcelona against Real Madrid, which is 10:15 a.m. on Sunday. Barca are minus 108, and it's the first time they've been minus money at home since the 2021 season in La Liga. Real Madrid are plus 235. The draw is around about 3-1 here. It's the fourth meeting of the season. Barcelona have won the Supercopa game, the game at the Bernabeu 4-0, and also in the Copa del Rey final in Sevilla after extra time. So as it stands, Steve, should we not be looking at Barcelona here? I know they've got wounds to lick after that Champions League exit, but there's only 4 points between the two in the La Liga title race here. But just given the sort of head-to-head form of this season, are Barca good things at around even money? What do you think?
I'll be honest, they're the last bet I would have in this game. Barcelona on the money line. Absolutely. No need to back them up. Minus 107, they don't even need to win the game. Just look at where the points table is. The draw's absolutely fine for Barcelona. Will they play for a draw? Probably not, but this can happen sometimes in soccer. But look, for me, the real talking point here is the goal line at 3.5. And it's minus money for over 3.5 goals. Just wonder whether this is a trap, or should we just go with the plain obvious? I mean, the way that all the meetings have been this season have been wide open, full of chances, full of goals. In that cup match, I said the under goal line look value. Go au contrarian. Real Madrid hopefully will learn their lessons, and they kind of did a little bit more, but still, it's really hard to nullify this Barcelona attack. But there could be tired legs. That match in Milan has got to have a factor for me. It just has to be factored into the equation. So my lean for the game is going to be Real Madrid draw no bet, plus 145. And some might say, what's the point even going draw no bet? Because for them, it's a must-win game. So, I wouldn't be opposed to people backing them on the money line, which is at plus 230. But like I say, Barcelona happy with a draw. Sometimes the way things go here, that you'd rather have that all-square match on your side. I just can't believe Real Madrid will lose 4 times in a season to Barcelona. I know they didn't lose in 90 minutes in the Cup. So, but it's really hard to... they're the pride of Real Madrid for a start. It's a must-win game. So that would be my lean, and I think I would actually lean over 3.5 goals as well, ridiculously. Don't know what you think about that one, guys, because I've been caught by these under traps with Barcelona, but they only play one way.
Well, I mean, over 3.5 has hit last 5. Over 2.5 has hit last 10. It's very short. Over 2.5 at minus 295. I mean, I just had to triple check the draw price, James. It is 3-1. It is plus 300 to draw. Real Madrid plus 230, which seems big. I mean, Steve said, draw Real Madrid as a bit of a lean here. That's the angle that you took on the Copa del Rey, which I questioned, but you did cash that bet. What are your thoughts on this final Clasico of the season?
Yeah, I did, and Steve's obviously gone with that as his lean. It's a much bigger price on Real Madrid here, as you would expect, because they're away from home, whereas in the Copa del Rey it was a neutral territory. So I think the Barcelona angle is absolutely fascinating here for a couple of reasons. The first is physically, I'm not sure they'll be too affected, actually, physically, by that Inter game. Young squad. Generally. And about as long a turnaround as you could have. It was a Tuesday night match and this is a Sunday match. So that should be okay. Psychologically, I think it's an unknown, actually, because it is a relatively new side. And this being the defeat to Inter in the Champions League, by far the biggest setback they've had to face. So the honest answer about how will they react to it is we don't actually know. I mean, this is, I think, new territory now for Barcelona, who it felt like they were going for a treble. Now they're not. And obviously, a domestic double would be a fantastic achievement, but it's going to be a real blow to a lot of those players to have gone out of the Champions League and also in the manner that they did. So I'm not sure how they're going to react this weekend. Steve makes a really good point about the league table. They don't need to win it, Barcelona. They're 4 points clear. I'm not sure that helps them as a team who can only really play one way, which is to go and blast the opposition off the pitch. Because you might actually like a team who are tactically a bit more flexible than Barcelona in this situation. You can maybe shut the game down. So I think there's loads of uncertainties on the match with regard to Barcelona. I think actually with Real Madrid, we know exactly what the situation is. And that, for me, from a betting point of view, is why I like this game from their perspective more than from Barcelona's. They're 4 points behind in the table. They have to win it. They've had no midweek distractions. They've been focused on this game. I think they'll be encouraged by what they saw from Inter against Barcelona in midweek. It's just underlined for Real Madrid that you can get at this Barcelona team. So I focused really my attention on the Real Madrid markets. My lean on the game is Real Madrid over 1.5 team total goals at minus 103. Real Madrid should be able to score 2 goals for me in this game. Now, I don't know if they'll win it because obviously Barcelona are super dangerous. So in the end, I moved away from the match odds or backing Real Madrid to win or on the handicap. But I think they should score 2 goals here. They could lose it 4-2, 3-2. They could draw 2-2. But they've got to go into this game to win it. They'll be really positive. They'll know they can get at this Barcelona defence. So I would actually be surprised if Real Madrid didn't score 2 goals in the game. So that's just my lean. It's not a pick. It's just a lean. It's Real Madrid over 1.5 team total goals. But I'd be fascinated in the comments to see what people think. We had some great views on the Copa del Rey final before that game took place. And I'd be really interested to hear what people think about this game as well.
Yeah, let us know in the comments who you're betting for the final Clasico of the season, because it's going to be fascinating. I mean, in terms of team news, the Real Madrid defenders that have been out for most of the season are still going to be out. I think Mendy, Carvajal, Militao Rudiger obviously had surgery, so he's going to be out. I think Camavinga's going to be out, Alaba as well. So Real Madrid are going to play that one way. Rodrigo might be questionable. I think from a Barcelona point of view, Martinez, who limped off late on in midweek, is going to be okay. Balde hasn't played for a while, but there's a suggestion he might be fit. Koundé, I think, is a questionable starter, might not play at all. So it's sort of as you were from a team standpoint. Steve, are Barcelona going to win the title? I mean, they're minus 770 to win the title. They've got Espanyol away, Villarreal at home, Athletic Club away from home on the final day of the season. Real Madrid a 10-1. They've got Mallorca at home, Sevilla away, Real Sociedad at home. Do you see any movement? I mean, if Real Madrid win, let's just frame it like this: if Real Madrid win at the weekend, can they win the title? Do you think with those games left?
If Real Madrid win El Clasico, I think they can win the title because Barcelona could drop points in some of those other games. This is why I think Barcelona will be a little bit maybe more timid than normal, and maybe they would take that draw. If they lose the game, the pressure's really on with the fixture list. I just want to mention the referee has now been appointed. We know who it's going to be. It's Alejandro Hernandez. So good they named him twice. This is going to be his fourth El Clasico. In the previous 3 clashes, 2 draws and 1 Real Madrid win. Just the second time he's going to take charge of Barcelona in La Liga this season. This is a referee that's got a history of dishing cards out. There isn't actually a cards line given at the time of recording with Bet Rivers, but for those who can access the cards, you may want to get on the overs here. You might want to back red card. You might want to look at penalty awarded in the game, which is plus 170, and individual player cards as well, because it's all going to, this could be a bloodbath potentially, especially the second half.
I've just looked at there are to card prices up, player cards. I mean, Bellingham just seems to be shouting at clouds at the moment, doesn't he? Let alone referees. He's plus 215 to get a card if it all starts going wrong for Real Madrid. So just to wrap up then with the Clasico, we've only got leans in this, but significant leans. Steve, your leans on this one or lean on this one?
Yeah, for me, it is Real Madrid on the Tino bet market, plus 145. That's my lean for the game.
James?
Real Madrid over 1.5 team goals at minus 103.
Yeah, we sort of on the Real Madrid side of things here off the back of Barcelona's Champions League exit. Let's stay in Spain. We'll wind it back to Saturday and we'll talk Saturday games before we get to Sunday and Monday. We've got Steve's first official play of the weekend, and I think this is better the weekend. It's on Valencia against Getafe. It's 8 a.m. On Saturday at Valencia, and we've talked about them before, Steve, either with leans or picks. Since Carlos Corberán has rocked up, they've just been a very, very different side and a very good team.
Yeah, I think Valencia on the money line are worth backing here, minus 103, which is my one unit pick of the week. I mean, shout out to Carlos Corberán for doing an unbelievable job here at Valencia. So much so that they're within range of, qualifying for Europe. I mean, I must say, just from a purely soccer point of view, it is really good to see Valencia actually doing quite well for once. I think Spanish football's better for Valencia doing well. I actually think a Valencia doing well is good for the bettors as well. This is a really tough place to manage when things aren't going right on the field or off the field. But I tell you what, when they get momentum, these fans really get behind the team. And at the moment, Carlos Corberán is giving them plenty of reason to get behind them. I think they're unbeaten in 9 straight games now. Several wins in that period. The defence has really improved a lot. And they've got a really nice fixture here against the Getafe side, who really look like they're done for the season to me. Lost their last 4 games, scored 1 goal in that period. I looked last season, they lost their last 5 games of last season as well. Won 1 of their last 9 in the previous campaign. So they don't finish seasons well, do they, Getafe? They get kind of safe, and then that's it, really. They mail it in. And I know they're not officially safe. They're 39 points with a 0 goal difference. They're only 7 points above the drop zone, but with only 4 games left, no one really looks like catching them, do they? There's not many wins of those teams in the bottom 3 or 4 right now. So I think they've probably done enough. Forget the actual league table anyway, in terms of motivation. Valencia just a better team right now. Corberán's got them playing really well. Just anyone who watches West Brom team will know that the hardest thing about facing a Carlos Corberán side is they're so well set up, disciplined, structured, just not easy generally to score against overall. And especially here at home, they've been pretty rock solid. The last 3 matches at home have been 1-0 wins, and that's the score I see here. I think Valencia win to 0 would actually, you may as well bet on that, really, if we're being honest. But just the money line here, -103. Good situational spot. I think Getafe have got a couple of players suspended as well, haven't they? There was a bit of a bloodbath last week in the Rayo Vallecano game. Getafe, I mentioned before, they're just a fouling machine. They stop-start games. But I think it's starting to limit them a bit on the field in terms of what they can produce themselves. They focus too much on stopping the opposition playing. Where are the goals coming from Getafe? This won't be a great watch. 1-0, I think Valencia is very likely. Corporán will find a way here. They'll get the job done. Crowd are behind them. And, there is a dangling carrot here of European qualifications. So I was surprised to get effectively even money on them. I thought this would be -140. I really did. So it's got to be the 1 unit play.
I like this one. I think they've started to rebuild the half-built stadium as well, haven't they? New Mestalla, they've resumed building on that one. Valencia fans desperate to move away and get a new stadium. They would be fourth in the league since Corberan rocked up. They've been that good. Let's get to some French fancies, shall we? And we've got lots of them from James and from Steve. First of all, we're going to get some official plays. Then we've got a lot of lean. So if you're looking at the Bet Rivers website, get Ligue up because the boys are going to talk through an awful lot of games here. They all kick off 3 p.m. On Saturday for the penultimate round of games in France. We're going to start with James's 2 unit play, which is Reims against St Etienne. Reims plus 116, St Etienne plus 205. But you're not going to go on the money line. It's goals that you're interested in. I mean, St Etienne could be relegated. Even if they win, James, what are your thoughts here? What's the 2 unit pick?
Yeah, St Etienne could be relegated this weekend. Massive game for them here away to Reims, which I'm just going to spell out. It's in case you're looking at it on the coupon. I wonder why we're calling them Reims. It's R-E-I-M-S, so it looks like it should be Reims, but in French it's Reims. So it's Reims St Etienne the game. It's my 2 unit play. Very confident about this. The pick is over 2.75 goals. At -122. So with this pick, if the game has 3 goals or more, then you're going to make a profit. And I can't see any way this game is anything other than crazy, open, lots of chances and lots of goals. So yeah, to set the scene, massive game St Etienne, they're 4 points from safety with only 2 games to go. So even if they win here, they could be relegated if other results go against them. They're obviously going to try and uphold their end of the bargain by winning and then hoping and praying that other results go in their favour so they're still alive going into the final weekend of the season next weekend. We know how they play anyway under Eric Horneland. It's been very positive from them in almost every match since he took over at the midway point of the season. They have been dangerous going forward. They do create chances. They have been really bad in defence. And, I do have some sympathy actually for Eric Horneland. I think Steve and I, we've texted about this. He doesn't really have the players for them to defend much better than they have. Anybody that's watched their games will have seen they concede a lot of chances, a lot of goals. I don't think the players are there really for them to do much better. And I think this weekend they'll be even more open than usual because it's their last chance to try to save themselves. So they're going to go for it. I think they will be dangerous because they've looked pretty good actually recent games going forward, but they'll be taking risks and leaving great big gaps at the back. And on Reims, they're not safe yet either. They're only 2 points above the relegation playoff position, which is 16th in League One. So yeah, could they draw it and feel okay? Maybe, but that would be taking a risk because the other teams below them are just below them. So I think they're going to go for the win here as well. I think they'll be confident they can win. Reims are very dangerous on the counter-attack. They're very quick on the wings. I think they'll get chances on the break here against a St Etienne side that are going to take chances. So I think this game is going to be open from the start. I think we're going to see lots of attacking play, maybe in different ways, but lots of attacking play from both sides. I think the chance to back the game to have 3 goals or more and make a profit is too good to overlook. So it's my 2 unit play. It's over 2.75 goals. It's -122.
And Steve's gone hot dog here. Steve, what are you going to do next season when St Etienne are in the second tier and you can't talk about them? What are you going to do?
How dare you? How dare you give up on them just yet? They're not down yet, Dan. But if they do go down, then I think I might have to try and persuade Nigel we can pick from Ligue 2. But do you know, I'm going back to the well here, where it kind of all started really on this show with St Etienne this season. Straight on the money line to win, plus 205. Same bet I had in the reverse fixture, and they beat Reims 3-1. And fair play to Stade de Reims. James gave him a good introduction there from the Champagne region of France. I think the cathedral there was where the kings of France used to be crowned. But it's not exactly been champagne football on the field, has it? The main reason that they have they're not safe yet, obviously. They're not going to be they're not going to be automatically relegated because they're goal difference. But what's happened is they've just managed to sort of steady the ship, kept a few clean sheets to grind over the line. I do believe I looked at the overs here as well because St Etienne just suck sides into shootouts. But quite simply, it's a must-win game for the visitors. So this might be a little bit heart over head pick from me, but I have cashed on it before. I believe that they can produce another performance because the big problem, the two big problems that St Etienne have had is the defence hasn't been good enough for what the manager wants, but also the fixtures have been brutal. Honestly, if you look at the recent games they've had, Monaco, Strasbourg, Lyon, Brest, who at that point were still in the mix for European positions, PSG. This is their easiest fixture since they faced Montpellier in the abandoned game. So I think we can expect them to have a much better chance of actually winning the fixture. There is some big team news revolving around Lucas Stassin, who we mentioned him a lot on this show. He missed last week's game against Monaco. I actually think it might have been precautionary. He is one yellow card away from suspension. So it would have been stupid, wouldn't it, to get booked in that Monaco game and then miss this one. So I think he'll come back. They've got to risk him, haven't they, surely? Give him the injection or whatever you want to give him to make him play. So that'd be a big boost. And, our round's actually that good. They couldn't even beat Montpellier recently. Not many sides can say that. They've improved, but I just feel that this is a chance. It's all or nothing for St Etienne. A draw would keep them potentially alive somewhat on goal difference. Le Havre have been the pain in the arse down at the bottom, really. We didn't expect them to draw against Monaco, and that draw might be really, really important looking back. We also thought PSG would batter them and make the goal difference closer. So Le Havre have been the problem for Sante, really. They've got to now win this game. If they win it, I think they've got a great chance next week against Toulouse at home is the final game, I think. So the incentive's there. I was struggling for hot dog plays this week, so I thought, why not go on one I've won on before? A team that must win, plus 205 on St Etienne. Because if they don't get the 3 points here, I think, it wouldn't be mathematically gone, but they'd be in serious, serious trouble. So I think they win the game. I do agree with James. I think there's goals. The reverse fixture was 3-1 to St Etienne. Maybe we can see the same score once more. I think Horniland can get a performance out of me. I really do. He'll keep them going. His job's safe, apparently. Even if they go down, they're going to keep him. And I tell you, they'll win that second division easily next season if they go down. But they don't want to go down. They've got one more, or hopefully two more results and performances in them. So that's my hot dog. St Etienne on the money line, plus 205 to beat Stade de Reims.
Let's rattle through the rest of the leans. The leans that the boys have got in France, because obviously penultimate round, a lot of strong thoughts from the boys here. James, we're going to kick off with Paris Saint-Germain, who are at Montpellier. Everything rosy in the garden with PSG's Champions League success over Arsenal. Is there going to be a drop-off? Are we fading them against the bottom club or not? What's the play?
No, we're not. I'm back in PSG here, Dan. On the Asian handicap, minus 1.75 goal start, away to Montpellier at minus 134. So you need PSG to win this game by 2 goals or more to make a profit. I'm breaking my own rules here because I would never normally back any team who don't have anything to play for. And PSG do not have anything to play for. They've already won the League One title. Their unbeaten run this season ended a couple of weeks ago. So there's nothing at stake here, and that's why it's just a lean, not a 1-unit play or a 2-unit play. But I wanted to flag it up just because the difference between bottom and top here, that's what we've got, is absolutely huge. So yeah, PSG could win this almost without, well, they don't need to, and almost without trying. So just to underline how poor Montpellier have been recently, they've lost 12 of their last 13 games. They failed to score in 11 of the last 13 games. That's just how badly they've been struggling recently. They're not even, for me, playing their strongest side at the moment. They're leaving out players who are likely to leave in the summer because they've been relegated, and some of their arguably better players are going to leave and aren't getting picked. So it's just a lean. As I say, I'm slightly uncomfortable about ever backing a team who don't need to win a game. But I think the difference is so big here that it's worth flagging up. PSG could win it by a couple of goals without trying. Just one other thing on team news. Are PSG going to rotate now that they don't need to win any games in League One and they got the Champions League final coming up? Maybe they will. But let's remember, when they rotate, the players who come into the side are the likes of Warren Zaïre-Emery, maybe Kangin Lee. And one player who probably will rotate into the side who you may want to keep an eye on is Gonzalo Ramos. We know that Dembele is not fully fit. He didn't start in the Champions League in midweek, so it's almost certain Gonzalo Ramos will come into the side as the number 2 striker. He's plus 104 to score any time in this game. He's got actually a very good goal scoring record if you look at goals per minute. He loves showing what he can do when he plays, so you may want to look at him. Just a lean, but I would be supporting PSG this weekend.
Steve, brief thoughts on Paris Saint-Germain. I mean, Champions League, they're favourites to win the trophy, minus 155. Is that about right? Do you think they will be looking to rotate? Are you fading them between now and the season? Are you with James here? They're going to keep up the gallop?
Look at James breaking his own rules. That just shows you how bad Montpellier are. You do worry. They could go back-to-back relegations unless they sort themselves out this summer. In terms of the Champions League final, I actually think PSG are going to win the final. I kind of hope I'm wrong. I've seen quite a lot of love for PSG suddenly, though, even from people who used to hate them. I think it's the way they play. Luis Enrique has really got people enjoying their football, and I think he'll just keep them all season. He's kept whipping the horse, hasn't he? There's not been any let up. So he'll want them to keep as much momentum as possible heading into the final. I think he's that sort of manager who he doesn't seem to wrap players in cotton wool, does he?
No, doesn't. Not really. Apart from last weekend.
Yeah.
Well, he changed 10 of the 11, didn't he, against Strasbourg? Speaking of Strasbourg, James, you've got to lean on Strasbourg's match at Angers.
Yeah, so this is one of the games in League One where you don't have to think too much about motivation. Angers are near the bottom of the table, fighting to avoid relegation. Strasbourg are near the top of the table, battling to get into the Champions League places. So full motivation from both teams. That's a nice equaliser, so you know that both teams are going to be fully at it. My lean is on Strasbourg on the money line at minus 115. They're a clearly better side than Angers. You could argue that when you're fighting for your life the way Angers are, maybe that will get a better performance from Angers. Maybe you will. That's partly why it's just a lean. But the reason it's a lean and the reason I'm going with Strasbourg is Angers have been really poor at home generally. They've lost 10 out of 16. And against sides who are currently in the top 8, which Strasbourg are, they've played 7, they've lost 7, and they've lost 6 of those 7 by 2 or more goals. In other words, Angers have done okay against weaker sides. They've been really poor in this type of matchup against one of the top sides. So it's just a lean, but Strasbourg for me here.
And a lean, Steve, on the money line. Lille travel to Brest.
Lille, money line, minus 130. This is a match where there's a clear discrepancy in motivation. Lille battling for the European position for the Champions League spots. And Brest know they're going to finish 8th, 9th or 10th. Brest have 2 big suspensions for the game. Pierre-Lys Milou, Brendan Chardonnay, 2 experienced veterans who, quite important to the Brest wheel, really, to keep it moving. And I think Lille also will show their quality and class in this game. So several factors point towards an away win here. Also, the head-to-head. Brest, I don't think have won any of the last 6. So not a good matchup usually for Brest. I think Lille really need the 3 points, and then they'll get them. Minus 130 on the money line for Lille to win is a good bet, I think.
And to wrap up our leans in France, Leon travelled to Monaco, James, and you've got, I don't know if we call it official leans, but you've got a few thoughts on this one for us.
Yeah, it's Monaco Leon, who are really well matched sides, both going for a top four place, which would get you in the Champions League. Monaco are 3 points ahead of Leon at the moment, but I think the two teams are pretty much as strong as each other. And yet Monaco are minus money to win on the day. They're minus 137 to get the 3 points. The draws 340, plus 340. Leon are plus 300. Why are Monaco such clear favourites in a game where really they're playing a side who are as good as them, in my opinion? Well, I think the reason is their home record is very good. You have to say that if you go back to November and you leave out the home defeat that they suffered against PSG, who are obviously in a class of their own, Monaco have won 8 of their last 9 at home. So I think it's about the home form. I think the market likes the way they've performed at home. But I think that Lyon have got a good chance of avoiding defeat here. They do have a slight points deficit over the top 4 at the moment, which is where they want to be. So they're going to go all out here to get something. And I think they're on their day, they're as good as Monaco. So it's just a lean for me. But I think Lyon or tie at plus 102 it is too big. I think, to get plus money on Lyon just avoiding defeat is a great opportunity. So that's my main lean on the game. And I just wanted to flag up a player pick. Following Balogun, the striker at Monaco, is plus 195 in the anytime goal scorer market. He would have been my hot dog pick if he'd been a bigger price. We need plus 200 or bigger for a hot dog play, so just miss out with Balogun. But I mentioned him because he scored last weekend. He took his goal really nicely. He's had a very difficult season with injury, but he's fit now and he's looked dangerous in the last few games. So I think if he starts, plus 195 on Balogun is worth a look. But my main lean on the game, as I say, is to side with Lyon or tie plus 102.
Liga action with their penultimate round in Germany as well, where Steve has come up with a same game parlay. He's going to swing for the bleachers here with this one. It's Bayern against Borussia Mönchengladbach. It's 12:30 on Saturday. Bayern minus 770 won the title last week, obviously. First time in action since. It's the last home game of the season. I think it's Thomas Muller's last game. He's definitely retired. He's not retiring, but he's leaving Bayern, isn't he, I think? Steve, same game parlay. You come up with something fairly spectacular. Considered, but spectacular.
Do you know, I've got a really good feeling
I
about
hope it's
this one.
Considered anyway.
I really do have a good feeling about this one, guys. But I am going with an SGP, which at the time of producing it last night was actually 22 to 1. I've only revealed it to 2 people, and it's been backed into 18 to 1.
Yeah, so who's the leak? Who's the leak?
There's a leak somewhere in the system. But yeah, 18 to 1 SGP. It's 4 elements here. And I mean, the big story heading into the game is that you're Bayern are champions. You get the trophy here. Harry Kane's going to win his first piece of major silverware. And it's Thomas Muller's last home game for the club. He's a rarity, isn't it, these days? A one-club man. An absolute legend. I was actually looking through his stats on Transfermarkt. This includes some of the youth games and also national team games. 837 appearances, 290 goals, 279 assists. This is one of the all-time great players. Apparently, they could have sold out the stadium 5 or 6 times over. The demand for tickets was absolutely huge. And this, not just because they're winning the trophy, but Muller's last game, he's a complete legend here. So the first thing we've got to do, we've got to get this guy on side. They've got to find a way to get him on a penalty on free kicks. I'm going to back him to score or assist here as the first leg of the SGP. I actually think he'd be quite happy with an assist to sign out at home. He's had several in his career. He's known for being one of the most intelligent attackers there's ever been. He knows where to find someone. So Thomas Muller score or assist. Harry Kane to score, second part of the SGP. It was suspended last week. He will want to be involved in the party, won't he? There's not really much else I can say. He scores in most Bundesliga games. He's going to get the golden boot. I think he's something like minus 3,000 for a shot on target. But backing him to score any time can be good in the SGP. And then I'm actually going to get involved with the 2 Borussia Mönchengladbach players as well, because this is a fixture which they have often pushed Bayern hard, in the last 5 years. Beating them several times. Often it's a close game. And I think they'll come here and, I think they'll try and spoil the party. The goal line is over 4.5 goals at plus 112. it's feasible we could get over 4.5 kick-off minus money, which is incredible for a league game. So we're expected some goals here, and I think Gladbach can contribute. Tim Kleidenist had a really good season, 20 goals. He has a shot-on-target ratio of 50%, around that mark. So add him to have over 0.5 shots on target. This is someone that's been playing for the German national team. It would be a good place for him to make his mark again heading into the off-season, wouldn't it? So over 0.5 shots on target for him. And then this is the kind of the big element of the bet, which, this is probably the hardest part to hit. Going back to an old favourite here on the show, Frank Honorat to score or assist, the former Brest man. Now, he's actually been missing quite a lot of the season. He's only played 17 fixtures for Borussia Mönchengladbach, but he's usually on most of the set pieces, the corners. He's actually scored or assisted in his last 4 games that he's been involved in. He's scored and assisted in his last 2 games. His minutes might be a little bit limited. He's had injuries, so I'm hoping he'll start the game. If any of these players don't start, the whole SGP goes in void, by the way. But Honorat is a really good player, really good technical player. James, I know, was a big fan of him back in his time in France, and he just looks in great form right now. So he's a dual threat to score or assist. And you add these 4 elements together, and we're now looking at 18-1. Thomas Muller score or assist. Harry Kane to score any time. Tim Kleidenist over 0.5 shots on target. Frank Honorat to score or assist. I mean, for those who want a single in the game, maybe you could look at Muller to score plus 132.
Yeah.
They've got to find a way to get him on the score sheet here, right?
Definitely. I mean, that's the one to take out of it if you just want a single for sure. I was just working out if Honorat doesn't play, and the team news come through, and viewers, listeners want to get on the other 3, it's plus 390, which is still more than acceptable for a same game parlay for sure. So that's the way that Steve's going to play it. Obviously, that would boost up the P&L for the season. Was 22s, now 18s. Did you say, Steve? Is that what it is? A minute 18?
Yeah, 18-1. Been backed in. I'm sure there'll be more money before it be 10-1 at kickoff, won't it? Now.
Yeah. Well, look, Muller's going to be backed for sure in every single market. That is that. I mean, if you're a bookmaker, you like 20-30% under, wouldn't you? You wouldn't care because you're going to take money. Let's get Steve's 2-unit play, shall we? It's in Italy. Empoli against Parma, 2:45 on Saturday. Empoli are the favourites here. Only 5 points between the two teams. Empoli in the bottom 3, of course. Parma just about doing off, and they restored Under's Better's faith last weekend. They lost, but there was only a goal in the game. Under Christian Kivu, it's now 7 from 10 unders. Steve, you're going to go in again here. It was one of your play. Was it your 2 you play last week? It was certainly it was either 1 or 2 you play. You're going to go in again here.
It was the 2-unit play, and I'm just going to stick with this hot hand whilst it keeps happening. And these Parma unders keep happening under the new manager Christian Kivu. Everything I said about them last week applies again. And I think last week actually they probably should have scored goals, but and this is partly the problem with Parma. I think the quality of players in their ranks is they don't really finish their chances enough. So I've got to go under 2.5 goals again, minus 130 this time, against an Empoli side who, at home, they've scored 7 goals all season in 17 fixtures, which is quite frankly pathetic, isn't it? 7 home goals in 17 games. So how can we even look at anything other than under in this fixture when we've got this matchup? My only concern is that it will be one of those sort of weird theory games towards the end of the season at the bottom of the table where we've got a desperate side in Empoli who will feel that they need to win the match. They did have a 2-2 draw against Venezia recently in a similar circumstance, but that was actually 0-0 until about the hour mark, and then one goal just went into mayhem. But Parma, the difference here is Parma don't need to win. Draw's absolutely fine for Parma.
Take a draw.
Yeah, take the draw. Come here, park the bus against a really poor team who can't score anyway. And you would back Parma, really, wouldn't you, to keep a clean sheet in this situation with the way they've been setting up. I suppose the danger might be if Parma themselves get a goal on the board and Empoli really do open up. But I just thought this goal line would be 2 on the Asian line. We can get under 2.5 goals at minus 130. It's really backable. There's a similar fixture down at the bottom of the table. I think it's Verona against Lecce this week, and I looked at the unders there, but the same match, I think it's minus 150-ish for under 2.5 goals. So why are the odds more generous here? I'll tell you why I think it is, Dan. I still think some Parma games are being priced up on their seasonal averages. They're not being priced up on... Yeah, I don't think they're being priced up on the Kivu regime. Everything changed since this manager came in. Before that, they were trying a different way to stay up, and they were trying to outscore opponents. But it's completely changed now. I just don't really back any team to be scoring goals here, and if there's a win, it's probably going to be 1-0. So let's go 2 units again. Worked for me last week, under 2.5 goals. Empoli, Parma, at minus 130, which I think is a massive price for this goal line.
Yeah, just looking at some of the expected goals figures for Parma, and 5 of the last 7, 0.9 or less. So it's, that they're not factoring it in. And earlier this season, they were creating more. First 3 games of the season, 1.7 in each of the first 3, and 5 of the first 6, it was 1.7 or higher. So it's definitely changed under the manager. Just quickly, you've got a lean in Como Cagliari. We mentioned Como last week because they beat Parma. So are you playing Como to win? What's the bet here? Because they're flying. They're looking for a 6th straight success.
Quite like Como to win. I quite like under 2.5 goals, and I think the official lean's got to be under 2.5 at minus 114. I mean, they've kept 4 straight clean sheets in this run. Cagliari, I mean, I might have known I'd get them wrong last week. Every time that any sort of...
steer clear.
Oh, they've just been they've just a disaster, aren't they, on this show, Cagliari? I mean, this is why it has to only be a lean again. But I think, of Cagliari, I think they've got enough points anyway. The teams at the bottom are just not looking like winning games, are they? So I think they've got enough points. But they'll probably come here with a defensive mindset, won't they, realistically? Keep it tight, try and get a draw out of the game. Como are now in the top 10. They're absolutely flying, like you say, Dan. I think Moneyline's at minus 140 region for Como. You could probably avoid that, actually. I think we're now at the stage of the season where I'm not sure about that. But under 2.5 goals, this feels like it could be very similar to last week against Parma. At minus 113 is the official lean on the game, and hopefully Cagliari don't do us dirty again.
Let's move on to Sunday's games in Italy. First up, James has got a 1-unit play, and it is a parlay. 2 teams to look at. Maybe one of them slightly surprising, maybe. But we're talking the top 2, James, here, Napoli and Inter. And your 1-unit parlay here is to back them both, which obviously some people will think, well, hang on, I want to avoid Inter after what happened in midweek, but you're not.
No, I'm not. I think it's a good chance this to get on the 2 teams who are battling for the Serie A title. They're both minus money to win this weekend, as you would expect. Inter are minus 200 to win away at Torino on Sunday. Then Napoli are minus 345 at home to Genoa later on. Put those 2 in a parlay, just with those 2 legs, and it will pay out at minus 108. And I think actually that's pretty good odds on the top 2 to win. So a couple of reasons for that. The first is to do with obviously how much is at stake here. Both teams know they can't afford any slip-ups. I know Napoli have got a 3-point lead, but they'll look at it that way. They'll be concerned about Inter just being 3 points behind them. The second is who they're playing this weekend. They couldn't really ask for too much more than playing 2 teams in mid-table who don't obviously have anything to play for. Torino are 11th in the table, Genoa 13th. So in that sense, it's sort of ideal. And, you've mentioned Inter and what impact that midweek game will have. A bit like Barcelona, when we talked about them earlier, I don't think that midweek match will have much impact, physically speaking, because the turnaround is pretty big from a Tuesday night game to a Sunday game as this is. But more importantly, I think psychologically, I think it's perfect in a way because they've got the win in fantastic style. The morale will be great on the back of that victory. They can park that now and leave it. The Champions League finals at the end of May, and they can now go all out to try and do what they can do and get maximum points from the remaining 3 Serie A games and hope Napoli slip up. So I think Inter will be desperate to get out there and win this game. I think Napoli at home to Genoa is a good bet as well. They're not showing any signs at the moment of slipping up. So I think a parlay on the top 2 teams close to even money, minus 108. I think, it's not something I would ordinarily do, but I think the way it falls this particular weekend, who they're playing against and what's at stake, I think it's a good opportunity. So it's an Inter-Napoli double for me, and it should pay out at minus 108.
Inter a plus 120 to win the Champions League. James, I asked Steve about PSG and the Champions League. Would you say PSG probably going to win the Champions League? If you had a bet right now, obviously we'll have thoughts closer to the final itself. Are your PSG not necessarily better, but would you expect them to win?
Yes. So if you ask me who I think would win, I would say PSG. I think the bet for me would be Inter. Actually, I think PSG are a little bit too short from what I've seen. I think minus 155 to lift the trophy. I'm not sure. I've been slightly negative on PSG all the way through this run, and obviously I've been proven wrong. They've got to the final, but I think in a one-off game, the prices as they are at the moment, I would lean slightly towards Inter.
One lean in Germany on Sunday. It's Leverkusen against Dortmund here, 9:30 on Sunday here. We got a little bit of grief, Steve, from one of our YouTube commenters. Can't remember who it was now, but hello to you. You're quite happy to question us, but he was questioning the show, saying, "What do you mean Dortmund are I think we pitched them as the third best team in the Bundesliga. Are they now the second best team in the Bundesliga? I mean, you were justified last week with your pick, and we came back with some stats on the YouTube comments here. Are Dortmund the second best team now, Steve? Are they going to beat Leverkusen?"
Yeah, the commenter was someone called 23 Italy on the channel.
Hello,
who he actually made a very good point about the Real Madrid Celta Cup game. That one went under my radar. It did actually go to extra time, so he was correct about that comment. And then, of course, we brought up the debate about who is the third best team in Germany, which I think is a really good debate. I think we've talked about this on the live show several times, even on this show. For me, right now, it is Dortmund. And, I mean, Leverkusen are kind of hard to rank right now because they're landlocked, aren't they? They're going to finish second place. They are the second best team in the country, but they're probably not playing that well right now. Certainly not compared to where they were at. This match means a lot more to Dortmund. So I actually think we could see an away win. Just that extra edge. They need to desperately get into the Champions League positions. There's probably quite a lot of players in the squad who have bonuses. Get in the top four and you'll get extra money at the end of the season. So there's plenty to fight for.
Are you trying to tell us that players are driven by money, Steve?
Well, there's obviously the most important thing is professional pride and to do it for the fans and all that to make the table look good. But they might just want a little bit of a bonus as well at the end of the season. And they're 1 point behind Freiburg. It's out of their hands. If Freiburg win the last two games, they're in. But Dortmund, all they can do is, to be fair, just getting into Europe would be good from where they were. Niko Kovac has done a great job. They were mid-table, I think, when he took over. But anyway, that's not the lean. The lean for me is that it's got to be over 3.25 goals at plus money, plus 107. I thought this goal line would be stupidly high, 3.5, 3.75. It's really quite low. You can get over 3 Asian goals at minus 124 if you want. And I guess the presumption is Bayer Leverkusen won't care. And they're just going to roll over and let Dortmund win to 0? Now, that's not going to happen. It's their last home game of the season. It could be Xabi Alonso's last match in charge of them at home. So I think they'll go. I don't think they'll just roll over Leverkusen here. I think they'll be up for it against Dortmund, even though they know where they're finishing. I think both teams can contribute. The reverse fixture ended in a 3-2 win for Leverkusen. I think we'll get a lot of goals in this one, Dan. So to get plus money on the over 3.25 Asian goal line looks very generous to me. If I had to pick a score, I would go for that 3-2 away win again. I think Dortmund can get their revenge here, but you wouldn't trust them because the defence is the weak spot. This is why the third best team in Germany debate is wide open. Some say Frankfurt. I can't be having that. I don't think the third best team in Germany would lose to a Tottenham Hotspur team right now. They did. So for me, it's got to be Dortmund. But it is a good debate. Put it in the comments who you think is the third best team in Germany. Next season, I think Dortmund will actually get back. I think Dortmund will be in the top 2 next season if Kovac keeps this up.
There we go. There's a bet maybe for next season. Monday night, Serie A soccer to round things up. We got an official play as well from James here. 2:45 on Monday. Atalanta Roma, massive game. Should be a really good game. This one. Atalanta minus 109. Roma plus 265. I mean, Roma are a big price here. They're absolutely fine. They just keep on winning. They're plus 335 for top four. They're currently fifth. Juve are fourth. Head to head with those two teams, incidentally, is the same because they drew both, so it might go down a goal difference. Who knows what's going to happen? You gave a lean last week, James, with that Bologna-Juve game which was a draw. This time you're pushing it into official territory.
Yeah, because last week was one of those weeks where, for me anyway, the leans did better than the official picks. But it's a similar thought process in that the Bologna-Juventus game where I had a lean on a tie last weekend and it ended 1-1. The logic there was that there's very little to pick, I think, between the teams who are fighting for these European places just below the title race. There's lots of teams involved. I mean, Serie A is really spoiling us here because we've got a fantastic title race and then we've got an equally thrilling race for the European places. So what a season finale. And we've got a game here between two of those sides who are jostling for the best European position they can possibly get in Atalanta and Roma. So it's a similar thought process. There's not a lot between the sides. So my hot dog play is on the tie, which is available at plus 260. I think 260 on the draw is a big price when you consider, the two teams are well matched. I nearly went on Roma here. You've said it, Dan. It's a huge price on Roma to win the game, plus 265. They're behind Atalanta in the league table, but it doesn't really tell you the full story. It doesn't even tell you half the story because Roma have been so much better than Atalanta, for me, in terms of performance and also points in 2025. If you look at the 10-game form table, for example, Roma are a point a game almost better off than Atalanta. So I think Atalanta minus 109 is too short. If you were looking for advice generally on the game, my advice would be to oppose Atalanta in some way. I nearly went on Roma to win it. In the end, I thought, Atalanta, they do have the experience to get a draw here. So my hot dog play is on the tie, plus 260. But it should be a fascinating game and yet another, step in what has been a great race for the European places in Italy.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, Roma just keep winning games 1-0. Just having a quick look there, they've won their last 6 in Serie A by a goal to 0. I mean, they've got a couple of draws mixed in there as well, and a bit of an unders team.
I've got a newsletter pick on this game on the Betting Weekly Insider. Yeah, so I've got to decide what. Well, I'm quite like Roma plus a quarter of a goal, on the Asian line in this game.
I mean, I think we'll take the draw for the show as well, but I think James is spot on here. I mean, you just want to get with Roma somehow, don't you?
Yeah.
It's how you get it. And look, the draw's a big price at plus 260 for sure. Brilliant stuff. Steve, James, thanks for your company. Good luck to one and all. We keep everyone updated via our X feeds. That is a wrap for Betting Weekly Extra Time European show. We're back next week. Picks Place, hot dogs, live shows, galore, of course, not just soccer, but tennis, baseball. At Because We Win on Instagram. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. If you've just dropped on us, we are inching towards 9,000 subscribers. From all of us for now, though, have a good betting weekend. We'll speak next week. Goodbye.